안녕하세요. It's good to be here. I'll just briefly introduce myself. I'm New Dao. I run a fund called Rubik Ventures. We're early stage cross-border dual base between New York and Hong Kong. We're early stage only, so seed, Series A. It's an honor to be here with both these speakers, Eowyn and Pascal. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for being so hardcore that, ditch your lunch and then sit over here. I'm Eowyn, so I'm currently the CEO of Trust Wallet. How many of you guys heard of Trust Wallet? Just curious. Okay.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, then we're talking about some brand awareness by surprise. We're the largest self-custody mobile wallet at the moment. So we have about 17 million downloads totally, and on a monthly basis, we have about 12 million active. And we also have our extension that launched 8 months ago, and right now it just passed the 1.5 million mark. So very happy to be here, share our 6 years of building stories and then how we see things forward, and learn from Pascal as well.
Cool. I'm Pascal Gauthier, CEO at Ledger. So now I'm afraid to ask the same question, like who has a ledger? Look at that, not bad. I was very afraid because with the numbers that Eowyn just disclosed on Trust Wallet, there's just like maybe two people are going to raise their hands. No, but Ledger, it's okay. We sold 6.5 million units of our devices, and we are a security company. We secure for retail, and you guys know the product. Ledger Nano S Plus, Nano X. Stacks is coming, so we have this new product that is coming in the market. It's hard to build. The e-ink curve screen is the world first when it comes to a hardware device, period. So, but we're working hard, and it should be out anytime soon now. And on the other side, we also help enterprise. So if you want to understand what Ledger does, we're safe manufacturers. We do little safes for individual usage on the retail side, and we do very complex and complex safes for the enterprise side. Voilà.
Amazing. Thank you for those introductions. I think one of the most essential questions to address for mass adoption is how to empower individuals through wallets. How do you guys, what do you guys think about that just from your different perspectives? One is they're both self-custody. One is hardware and one is software.
You want to go first?
Either.
Okay. I knew this was going to play like this. All right. So first of all, we don't think too much in terms of necessarily sort of Web3 and crypto adoption. We think in terms of security and more globally web security. We think that when you think about your Web 2 experience, you can see that more and more you need to increase the level of security with 2FAs, with different dongles. You see that security is evolving from login password to passkey. All of these things are happening, and they're happening because we are getting hacked sort of more and more every day. And 23 is a bad year for hacking. 24 will be worse. 25 will be worse. And hacking won't stop, and it would actually increase. So the level of security needs to go up, and especially when you think about crypto, it's even worse. Sure, it's bad when someone enters into your phone, but it's even worse if you have $1 billion in Bitcoin sitting on it, because taking those private keys is a one-way direction, as we know. So this is. So far in the world, you've been connecting with your Google, you've been connecting with tools that were centralized tools, and we believe the wallet will be the key to your future security and the key to your future login into services. And also, if crypto exists crypto needs to exist in a decentralized way and in a self-custody way, it means that your private keys will be the way to engage with your web experience in general. So your wallet will be the central point for connectivity, and your wallet will help you connect with your money, with your identity, with your health data, with a bunch of things that will be tokenized or not, but this will be you, defining you. This will be under your control and allow you to connect to a lot of services. So when wallet can offer that kind of service, we believe this is really when mass adoption will happen, because the use case will be extremely clear for wallet and for crypto as a consequence.
That's very well said, and I think in line with a lot of what we're thinking about as well. I think when we're thinking about empowering users for mass adoption, the question is, what do we empower users for? I don't know whether people have thought about that. And at least from our perspective, it kind of goes back to why do we even do Web3 or crypto to begin with? Like, so what's the impact to the daily users? From our interpretation, there were two key empowerments that we want to do. The first one is ownership. How many of you have your crypto, okay, let's do this. How many of you have self-custody ownership since 3 years ago? Okay.
Okay, those are the hardcore users, yeah?
And how many of you have self-custody ownership now? I wouldn't embarrass the rest of you who don't. But if you don't, I highly encourage you, no matter it's hardware self-custody or software self-custody, have a little bit of the fund, and then you can have a taste of what does that truly mean, that you own this thing on the blockchain that no one else can take it away from you. And you have to be a grown-up to safeguard it. Because the majority of the security problems doesn't actually happen on the hardware, software side. It happens on the user behavior side. But I feel that only when people start to have the taste of the first self-custody and ownership, they start to understand the value of blockchain, of that borderless, of that permissionless. So for our perspective is, how can we lower the entry barrier for more people to have that first taste of self-custody ownership? Having that understanding of that ownership, and then they can graduate or level up to any other ways that they feel better with that ownership. No matter that's the hardware wallet, or even they have the taste of it, they feel like, I still trust custody more, that's totally fine. But I think just like any educational level, people in their Web3 journey, in the blockchain journey, needs to have that first experiences of self-custody. And from our interpretation, software is an easier way for that entry barrier. You have no cost. You easily download it as you have the internet, and the size of the app needs to be small, right? It cannot be 500 megabytes that you downloaded forever. It has to be somewhere about 50, 70 megabytes, easily accessible to any mobile phone in the developing countries. And that's what we're aiming for, is that how can we always lower the entry barrier for people so that they can have the first taste of the self-custody ownership and guide their journey throughout the way. That's the first part of empowerment from our side of ownership. The second part is, besides ownership, what else are we building in the Web3 space? How many of you are builders of dApps? Not that many. Okay, 2, 3. Well, I'm sure that you guys are building something really exciting by leveraging the infrastructure of the blockchain that you think the Web2 world doesn't give. No matter that's giving a better kind of a revenue sharing, interest sharing, identity sharing, self-expression, whatnot, then we want to give access to the users to have the taste of whatever the exciting things that the builders are building. And software, from my perspective, then we are that bridge. Once people have the ownership, what do they do with it? How can we give people more taste, that accessibility, that utility that the industry has to offer? Wallet is not the end goal. We're just the infrastructure. We're the bridge to bridge people to better accessibility for opportunities. So that's what we are focusing on for the empowerment, given the product value proposition we choose, which is different from hardware wallet, but we work together to provide that full suite of the services for users in the space.
I think wallets are ultimately just an interface, right? And how do wallet providers ensure balance between user-friendly experiences and robust security measures that, quite frankly, don't feel very user-friendly today? Yeah.
I don't know, because people keep on saying this, but then I keep on using the web, and I don't think, when it comes to security, the web, forget about crypto, but the web is not very user-friendly. I mean, my bank online is not super user-friendly, you know. And if you think about every security feature that you need to activate, you know, even like to log in back into Twitter. I lost my access to Twitter the other day, and I was trying to log back in. You know, it wasn't super user-friendly. Security is very difficult. So if you want to make something extremely secure, you want to put locks on the door, you want to make sure that no one can get in. So of course, it's going to create some friction in terms of user-friendliness. And the problem is this, you know, we've been used to download an app on our phone and sort of click yes, 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 and then you play the game and it's so easy, etc. It's the web of convenience. And it's something that, you know, Google, Apple, and all of these guys have been doing beautifully, but it comes with a consequence. The consequence is they own you, your data, etc. You become more of a product for these companies, but certainly you don't control anything. And so I think it's a bit of an illusion to think that you will be able to certainly control everything, but it will be, you know, day one sort of as easy as, you know, your Google or your Apple experience. You know, there are consequences to choices. If you want more control and if you want to own you and yourself and your digital self, then, you know, there are some hurdles, there are some learnings, there are some, you know, you're not going to switch from one day to the other. So, and I don't think it's very hard. You know, I have, so that's number one. Number two, I don't think it's very hard. I had a discussion with someone in New York the other day, and he went from custody to self-custody, and to his big surprise, self-custody was easier. And, but you can easily understand why. If you're in custody and if you move a lot of money in crypto, for example, you have many steps. You have KYC, you have, like, you know, certain things that you need to do in order to access your funds. Your funds are not accessible all the time. You need to call your money manager. They need to triple check your identity before they release the funds, etc. There are a lot of these processes that are very manual, not just in crypto, but in crypto too. In self-custody, you know, once you set up your Ledger wallet, you're in charge and you can send your money. The problem becomes you become the central point of failure, and so you need to be careful with, you know, the addresses that you copy paste, etc. So you're suddenly in charge of your own security, but there are so many features that work so much better when you're in self-custody that I don't think it's very hard to use. And also, a lot of people in this industry are buying and holding. So, you know, like, I'm not going to do the game like, so if you bought your coins in 2015 and you didn't touch them since then, like, you know, sort of raise your hand. But there are a lot of people that are like that. And so I see it with Ledger. Some people they're like, oh, Ledger is difficult. And then they talk to me about the product that we had in 2017. And they haven't touched their Ledger since then. And then when they update their Ledger and they go through the new experience that we've designed, because in 6 years now, we've made a lot of progress. They're like, oh, suddenly it became easier to use. So there will always be friction. Security and empowerment makes it that you have to learn new tricks, and it creates friction. These frictions will disappear in time, but I would argue that already self-custody is not very difficult. I mean, to use Trust Wallet is not very difficult. You download the app, you follow the steps, etc. You just have to pay a lot of attention to what you do, because once you have just those 24 words, you need to know where you store them, etc., etc. So there are some things that are just about education. And yes, if you enter this game without any form of education, people also say to me, I understand nothing about crypto, or, you know, something like that.
Sure.
And I'm like, sure. I mean, if you don't pay attention, if you don't read anything, just like everything else in life, you cannot understand a problem if you don't pay attention and you don't do a minimum of education. But if you do that, I would argue that using Ledger or using Trust Wallet is not that difficult today.
I really love when he said, and I resonate a lot with, is that self-custody sometimes is easier than custody. Simple example, recently I got a data, then I realized that our download to set up wallet conversion rate is about 2 to 3 times of that of centralized exchange. Which one is easier? Which one is faster? 1 minute setup versus, you know, waiting for 1 or 2 days for KYC to approve. Well, so I think sometimes it's more dialectic to look at in what scenarios do we consider security versus easy to use. And I would emphasize this. I think that there is no golden standard to say that here is your perfect division percentage of how much you focus on usability, how much you focus on security. I think the key is understanding what is the users are using in that particular context and which one matters more. And also, how would the users use this product, and then what needs to come more important. Let's say if someone has $100 million, I would not recommend that person to use a software wallet just because there is more potential exposure points. You know, extension is the most vulnerable one. Then it's mobile. Then it's probably something that's air gap hardware. So then I'll emphasize that for that usage scenario, you really want to sacrifice usability for anything that's security purposes. But if you say that I have $10, my goal is just to be able to use it most conveniently on the blockchain, then even if somehow you made a mistake, then you figure out that you lose the $10, you're okay with it. So understanding what is that specific context of the best fit for the purpose of that user is quite important. I'll use an example is that in the onboarding phases, we had a huge debate about do we ask users to painstakingly go through every process of the setup for the wallet, or we somehow speed up the skip the backup phases until they have some funds in the wallet that they had a skin in the game. Then we painstakingly ask them that you have to back up. You have to back up. So then I would say that in the first scenario, you have even nothing to use. Usability is quite important for you to get to the destination. But once you have a skin in the game, you start to really care about it. Security becomes so important, then security is going to be the feature that you really want to emphasize it. So just to summarize that, I think if you're builders in this space, it's very important to think about what is your users using in the context and what matters to them more. And every specific product, every specific builders also have a different take to contribute to the full journey that users use, no matter it's in Web 2 or Web 3. And we all partner and collaborating to create that full experiences that the users can choose, rather than one product can absolutely kill it all to make it the perfect combination of everything, which I don't think will ever exist.
I think there's, those are really good points. And I think there's also a big difference between what beginners are like. So the education piece being really key, and then your experienced users. How are you guys thinking about, I guess, the experience on like both types of, both cohorts?
I mean, education is a function of marketing for us. So probably $1 out of 3 is spent on education and educational content. And you build it in the form of an academy where you have content for beginners and content for sort of advanced users. But at some point, the industry has to evolve, and I think we've sort of started that movement. The industry has to evolve, so you don't need like sort of that much education, because I think. Would
you say that for your mom, or
Yeah, because the mom is always a bad example. So first of all, my mom understands nothing. One day I was sitting in front of a computer with her, and I was talking. I was in the advertising business. And she had a big page with a big advertising, and I was like, do you see the advertising? And, honestly, it took her 10 minutes to realize the page, the advertising, etc. So I think sometimes technology is not designed for our grandmothers, our moms, etc. Like technology skips generation. So, of course, you're building for the mass market and for most people to be able to use it. So there needs to be like, a certain function of usability, and for people to be able to intuitively understand how it works, etc. And of course, we're working on that. But this will take 20 years to build, and so we're really talking to people that are 18 now, and that will be 40 in 20 years. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm building products for the next generation, because I don't think that the generation that just passed, we will necessarily jump on board crypto, etc. And if they do, it's because it needs to be super easy. So for my mom to use her phone and the internet, it had to become the iPhone. It had to become something extremely easy to use, because if you think about it, the iPhone is, compared to how you would use the internet in 1995, the iPhone is extremely easy to use. It's almost magical as a product. is internet at your fingertip, and it works without you even realizing what you're doing. So when we reach that level of simplicity, of course, then everybody can use it, but there will be steps in between now and then. And truthfully, if you speak to the new generation, to people that are 18, 20 today, they're born with this, so they understand this very intimately. And so, it doesn't mean that the products will ever be complex, but it also means that there is a certain level of education that you won't need to do, in the sense that people will be educated by nature. And it's part of the technology beings that we're becoming. So don't get me wrong. I think, again, like, we need to strive for simplicity, ease of use, et cetera, but also, the education that we're doing now, I think that will fade away in the future, because most will be educated in terms of how this works.
So the question is how to build products of ease of use for newbies and experienced users?
Yeah.
I'll be honest, this is a very difficult question, because I find that user behavior is very drastically different between the, I would say, very crypto experienced DJ and issue users versus newbie users. The ask is very different. Newbie users ask, which we have a lot of them, because our wallets are often used as the first onboarding wallets for a lot of the people around the world. Then what they want is something very easy, very simple, and then get to the first utility that they want quickly. They don't care about too many utilities afterwards, because they haven't even got to that stage yet. Just like if you're playing video games, you first got your character, you just need to know how to use the only way to shot the monsters. But you don't need to worry about, okay, there were 5 other skills that you need to use for a combination. That's what the newbie users want, is that how do I successfully get confidence for my first successful crypto action? And that's what, at least for our product that we focus on, is that we try to keep it as simple as possible. Even for experienced user, when they look at a product, they will assume that, oh, this is too simple, it doesn't serve for their users usage. But because we try to focus on newbie users a lot more. But it doesn't mean that we ignore the experienced users, because we have so many developers, product person on our team. I would call them to be one of those most DJing people in the industry. They build product for their purposes too. So how do they make it happen? Is that then we kind of build the product and curate in the way that the advanced features are hidden. Then if you are constantly using the product, you understanding a little bit more, you level up, you suddenly find out, oh, there is that hidden pocket, there is that double tap, and then you can switch your wallet between. Newbie user doesn't even use multi-wallets, but advanced users do. So how to understand that leveling up experiences and still leave those opening doors for the advanced users, so that they fulfill their needs, no matter that's changing the gas, speed up transactions, cancels, revoke contracts. Those functions are there, but you don't put them overwhelming the beginning of the users. That is a design challenges. Every different product will have their own take on how they think the balance is. But at least that's how we approach it. There's some kind of conflict of interest, I would say, for the user needs are not kind of a reconcilable still. But I think in those cases, I wouldn't go into too much details, but that's the beauty of why we need more products out there. Because every product needs to figure out that you cannot do everything. What is your focus area? Who do you focus on? And be okay to trade off and give up on something else. Then leave the room for other people who are better served to build that purposes and learn from each other, collaborate. Like, there's not going to be one person is dominate all scenario in any industry.
I can give you maybe a more provocative answer to your question. I'm not sure that they're advanced users. I think for us,
the 1% of users today and the 99% tomorrow.
Yeah, no, but I think for us, the categorization is like developers versus sort of the rest of the world.
Yep.
So because when we launch advanced users features on Ledger, usually we have, I don't know, like 1,000 people using them, like if that. So they're never used, and so we decided to, because we had that debate internally, and it's a never-ending debate, and it's very difficult to do 2 products in a way. Like, you do one product for sort of 99% of the people, and you do another product for 1% of the people. Like, there is no logic in terms of business behind it. But what's more important to us is developer and developer features, because we've built Ledger as a platform on top of which third-party developers can code. And there we have, I think it's 15,000 developers now that are sort of working on coding on top of the Ledger platform, third-party developers. And so that's super interesting. So to have developer tools and a developer community around us, I think, this is what we would call power users. And so, they develop the advanced features, they develop the developer features that you can only find in a certain mode, etc. But I would say that the usage is 99% sort of normal. People don't do stuff that is too advanced. And the game is, with the developer tools and the developers that we work with, the game is to develop features that everybody can use. Because in fact, like, if you think about protocols, if you think about features, if you think about anything, what is the feature that is successful if it's being used by, a few hundred people on the planet? Like, you want features you want to be able to use features for millions of users, that's the name of the game. So I think for us, the distinction is developers on the one side, and we have specific tracks for them, specific tools, specific way of engaging and getting code onto the platform. And then once the code is on the platform, we try to make it as mass market as possible.
I guess there's, to your point about protocols, how do you guys see innovations such as multi-chain support and DeFi integration contributing to mass adoption? Or how are you looking at it through the lens of, your respective products?
I think both of our products are multi-chain, right? Multi-chain is really hard to integrate. We support 85 chains right now, so we support all the EVMs, Cosmos, Move, Cardano, Polkadot, Near, Avalanche, which is, there's no economy of scale because you just need to spend the engineering work to make sure that you integrate with them, especially non-EVMs, to make it work. For us, we have been building multi-chain for 4 or 5 years now. That's why we get to the scale where we can. The thesis behind it is that we do believe the innovations and the opportunities can come from all the different chains. Each chain in the future will have their own niche, their own strengths, the own way that serves the application layers better. So we are the infrastructure layer. As to the point, our goal is to be able to make the bridge to whatever the space has to offer to the users. Then we need to open up all those gateways, connections points for the users. So then we don't make choices. We just have priorities, be able to knock it out. And whenever any chains, any dApps have the potentials to bring you really good use cases and utilities to people, we do want to make sure that we can make the bridge happen for both sides. So that's how we see it. That's why we're chain agnostic. We do want to support the industry as a very important infrastructure layer between the users and the dApps.
I got the same answer, so. Except, I don't know how you guys deal with developers. The thing is, I looked at that problem back in 17, and I thought, oh my God, like we'll never make it because it's just too much, and how many developers can we hire to do this, etc. So we decided to open the platform for foundations, third-party developers, etc. So we can sort of do the work with the foundation. So right now, if you have a layer 1 or layer 2, whatever you have, like you can do the job yourself to port your layer 1 or layer 2 onto Ledger. We'll just approve it from a security standpoint. So we still have to do something in terms of security in the end, but the whole development to bring your chain on Ledger can be done by you, your team, or a team that you hire. And maintenance is also the same, because it's one thing to port a chain on Ledger, it's another thing to maintain it for years, because they do change, etc. So we try to work more and more with the foundations themselves to make sure that we have everything up to date, and we have a partnership to serve the users, because a few years ago, foundations were not paying a lot of attention to the work that they were doing with wallets. It was like sort of a given. And everybody was, it was sort of a hot potato that people were passing on to each other, and nobody would care much. But in the end, you end up with an experience where sometimes it's broken, users complain, and you never know really whose fault it is. And so we're trying to streamline that process, basically, just to make sure that we all have sort of skin in the game, and that apps on Ledger are updated, and that the service is very consistent for the user. But it's a process, and we're still working hard on it.
We can exchange some notes afterwards.
I guess the last question is, where do you guys see the challenges that the industry or needs to solve for just more conversion, more adoption? top, not
Great
top
question.
three, top
no, but
one.
for us, it's a very biased answer. For us, we got work to do, and we need to release Stacks. So Stacks is, when you do hardware, it's very different than software only. Of course, software you can modify on the fly. Hardware is once it's built, it's built. And so think about your phone, your mobile phone in 2000. If you had a mobile phone in 2000. Think about your phone now and see how they have evolved. And when you do hardware, you have 3 layers: hardware, operating system, and the software layer on top. And if you think about your phone, those 3 layers have evolved at the same time. So Stacks for us is just, it's a bit the moment where we think Apple invented the iPod. And so we think that Stacks for hardware wallets will be sort of the iPod moment. But we still need to build all the way up to the iPhone, so we have work to do. So watch Stacks, the usability, the ease of use, the form factor, everything is so much sleeker than what we've done before. It doesn't mean that other products are no longer good. S Plus and X are 2 great products when you want to enter the market, but Stacks will be the next level of usability. So. This is the next step, and then we have a long roadmap of hardware just to always make things much easier to use and also sexy. The reason why you use your phone is because it's a sexy product. It's you look cool with it, so you're gonna look cool with your Stacks the same way that you look cool with your iPhone.
So the question is, what are the barriers to the industry's adoption? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think a lot of the industry participants may, wear all wallets, might say that, hey, wallets UX breaks. But given my experiences, I heard stories in the developing countries. I think the key is, what problems are we solving in people's life with the technology? Because if you truly solve people's problem in their life, no matter how painful it is, people jump onto it. And for example, there was a village in Africa that they are not able to receive donations in fiat in a very good way, and even to store it because they don't have banking access. I was, by a chance, learned that they got a crypto donation and they use it in software wallet, in Trust Wallet. And then, so I was like, how does a village treasury manage one individual software account? Guess what solution they come up with? They appointed 12 people, because it's 12 words for that secret phrase. Each person remember 1 word. How do they prevent corruption? When they need to spend that crypto or use it or move it, 12 people needs to get together so that they sign it. Is that painful? Kind of painful. Is that ingenious? Yes. But the real problem was that they need a way to solve the treasury, and there's no existing system that solved the problem. And then they need an easy way to do it. This is their easy way to do it. I think the key question is that we cannot just attract users coming into the industry when it's a bull market, the market increases, and people coming here expecting to get rich quick. We still need something really impactful, useful. Like we're talking about USDT, or USD stablecoin in general, that it's being used to hedge against inflation. Like we need more of those real world use cases. Then we can expect that no matter how we bridge those users into the space, then we're making an impact in the society.
Amazing. Yeah. I think that I think everyone's got a point of view. You guys obviously have your point of views. And it is the ultimate interface for mass adoption. So sounds like we'll just continue to make progress. I don't know if anyone in the audience has questions at all. I'll see. No? Okay. I think we're all set. Thanks for your time.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
everyone.